Please tell us a bit about yourself and tell us a bit about your background.
I'm Simon Sparks, and I'm the CEO of Splendy Interactive and the producer of The Bunker.
Hi, I'm Alan Plenderleith. I'm the creative director of Splendy Games and the director of The Bunker.
My background in kind of film comes from hairdressing. So I was a hairdresser and a makeup artist, and I kind of worked my way through and went a little bit more into kind of producing, and that's when I met Alan, who is a scriptwriter.
Yeah, I've been a scriptwriter for sort of over 20 years, and that's my background. I got into apps. We made a live-action horror called The Hunting. We really enjoyed doing that, so we wanted to do something bigger, more ambitious, you know, with even more sort of drama and storytelling, and that's what The Bunker is.
Can both of you tell me how your fascination for live-action video games started?
It's never been a conscious decision to find a niche genre like FMV and go, oh, let's do an FMV game. It all spawned from Alan's first idea, which was The Hunting. So Alan, like you said, he has a background in script writing, and he'd been working on lots of apps for years, and has sold millions of them. And it was kind of almost serendipitous. One day, your daughter Tilly, she was watching, she was watching a film on the iPad and tried to swipe the door to open it, and he kind of his brain started working, and it's all fed off from there, really, from anything else. So it was never a conscious decision to kind of do that. It's just kind of we've happened because we went, oh, that'd be really cool, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, and we're not CGI programmers, we don't have that background really. So what we do know is how to make films, and I know how to write stories. So I think to me the story is key, and whether it's CGI or whether it's FMV, if the story is good and the characters are characters you care about, then that's what captures a player's imagination. But what you do get with live action is you get that connection with the actor and the performance that is so believable and draws you in, and that's what I really like about live action stuff. So we want to keep doing things like this.
Before we get to The Bunker, I would just like to have a small idea of how you created The Hunting, because it must have been an insane amount of work, and please tell us a little bit about that.
It took ages. I had no budget whatsoever. Literally just started filming one day. Simon was a zombie. He was zombie number one. And
I'm like 7, 8 different zombies in it, because we went, we need another zombie, and I was like, oh, I'll put a hood on, and I'll do that, and yeah. So.
3 zombies, multi-zombie, and it was really a case of Blair Witch style iPhone strapped to my head on a bicycle helmet, running through the woods, zombies jumping off trees, attacking me, and my bare hands are in the game, strangling zombies, punching zombies, opening doors, answering phone calls, and it's just really a bit different, something a bit different and cool when it's live, when it's real. It feels quite visceral, and people really got terrified by it, so that excited us, and it just made us want to do something else as well.
The Hunting was always it's time and money, really, because they just that accesses you to everything. So we used up a lot of goodwill with a lot of people, and just kind of saying, can you help me out? Can you do this? So I think it was lots of compromise in that respect.
Yeah, exactly. But what's really cool is when you say to people, do you want to be in a zombie film? They all go, yeah, and they don't want to get paid, they don't care,
Yeah, it wasn't that hard to find, 50, 60 zombies. And we're like, we need loads of zombies for like a big scene, and we managed to find them. It was really good. From a technological point of view, the thing that was really difficult to overcome was how to get video to kind of load again and again and again, and and do it with the processing power of a phone. And that was a massive challenge. And for people who don't, we don't have a coding background, we don't, and you managed to figure it out, and it's something that to this day, I'm still fathomed as to how he managed to do it, So we got that little kind of secret bit, and we were like, wow, that's awesome. We get to see that. And it unlocked lots for us.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. What we really wanted was this seamless transition between shots, so that it didn't feel like there was loading or buffering or whatever. And an iPhone 4, that's what we developed it for. It doesn't want to load in 2 clips and have them waiting and for you to decide which one. So we had to work out ways around that so that it looked like it was smooth transition, but actually behind the scenes there was a lot going on. And we've had to do the same with the bunker in Unity to work out ways so that there's none of that buffering. It all feels very seamless. Feels like you're there in a live action environment and you're in direct control of what's going on.
Usually it's pretty hard to get funding for an FMV game. How did you get funding for it, for the bunker?
We came here last year and we had just kind of like a concept trailer. We knew we needed to demonstrate the sort of production values that we wanted to bring to this, the sort of gameplay which we had to fake and kind of just suggest that it's going to be like this. And we bought it and we spoke to, luckily I've been introduced to Gary Rhodes at Green Man Gaming, and they were just starting their publishing arm, and he just gave us so much confidence by saying, this is really, really interesting. I really, really feel, you know, there is something in this, and having that and having him say, yeah, this is a good idea, was really good to take to the industry. And there's so many funding bodies out there, and they're all looking to fund something. You know, they're looking to spend their money, and you just hope that you're the right people. And it's events like this that really you put yourself out there as much as possible. And then after that, once we got kind of one person involved, it slowly started to develop more, and and we managed to refine the kind of business plan behind it, because that's a lot of where, you know, they really focus the kind of it's a barrier to entry for a lot of developers, because your business plan, if it's not sound and it's not good, and you're not going to survive kind of through these years, if you don't have that, then you're less likely to get funding, because you know you need that, you need it desperately.
But the trailer was the key, really. You know, we got Adam Brown for the trailer, we made that and we showed people, and when they saw it was live action and real, and thought, is it? And we had some gameplay in there, but it was animated, so it was kind of fake. You know, it was what we had in mind for the gameplay at the time, but it was animation. You know, we hadn't built anything yet. But that showed people enough that they thought, oh, that looks really cool. It's real, and it's real hands going in. It's real, you know, things coming at you, and they were really intrigued to see how on earth we would pull that off in a full game. You know, which is 2.5 hours to 3 hours long. You know. So that's what got them excited, you know. It stood out because it looked different.
And I just had a chance to play the first minutes of the bunker, and I just told you the first word that came to my mind was the word intense. And boy, it was intense. It was really intense. And to the people who might be watching this who don't know that much about the bunker yet, could you please describe the story with your own words?
The story of the bunker is about the story of John, who's a boy who's born in an underground nuclear bunker the day the bombs wipe out England. And 30 years later we join John when he's all alone, and we don't know why he's alone, but he's quite happy in his routine. He's following his routine. His mother told him, stick to your routine, never leave the level, never leave the bunker, and as long as you do that, everything should be fine. And of course something happens, something goes wrong, and you with John have to then escape that routine and try and solve the problems of the bunker, and go to places you haven't been to for 20 years. And in doing so, you're encountering these strange areas that you remember from when you were as a child, but you haven't been there for so long. Your suppressed memories come back, and you remember encounters and little clandestine chats between the staff that were there at the time. And you start to learn, you and the player and John start to learn more and more about the secrets of the bunker as he descends deeper and deeper and deeper into the sort of hell.
And I read an interview with you actually, and you said, which is a very good thing I think, that the interactivity should complement the story. Could you explain the interactivity in the bunker? and how you're trying to do
So
that?
the interactivity starts off very explorative, like a point-and-click adventure, where we're exploring the bunker. We're following the routine. We're trying to solve problems, as well as investigating environmental elements. So there's documents lying around, there's cassettes, there's computers that you can switch on and read, and they all give you quite a lot of information about the history of the bunker and the little things that happened there that were slightly suspect. And as the game progresses, it becomes more and more intense and more scary, and therefore the game mechanics become more and more action-based. So quick time events, button mashes, things to push the player on in a faster way, and it becomes less explorative. So it's not so much about trying to find things and solve problems, it's more about trying to survive.
I think it was the same interview, and you were asked about your 5 favorite movies. And for example, there were 2 Hitchcock movies in there. You said Psycho, and The Birds was the other one, I think. So I was wondering, because the thing I realized during the first minutes, I was not under the impression like this is really like a jump scare game in the actual sense. It was a very psychological approach. That was the impression I had. So how would you define that kind of approach you had when it comes to the atmosphere in the game?
Really, I mean, I love films like The Shining. So horrors, they're not, you know, horrific. I mean, they are, but they're more psychological. It's more about a man's mind suddenly decaying. And our story in the bunker is very much about John versus the bunker, and it's all about him trying to keep his sanity. And he starts to break down his sanity. I mean, he's never seen daylight, so one of the actual things that happens to you if you haven't seen daylight is you get a form of dementia. And that's kind of what John's got now, which is why he looks a lot older than 30. You know, he's a kind of a broken man. He's really a child that's never really grown up properly, even though he looks old. So he's this really interesting little broken soul who, you know, I feel quite protective of when I'm playing the game. I want to sort of help John. And that was always the idea, that the horrors are real, but they're also in his mind. So it's a very psychological horror. It's not so much about jump scares and monsters and things popping out at you, but there's always that horrible sense that there's something in the bunker that doesn't want you to be there.
I think one of the things with kind of what we call kind of Hollywood horror, the moment you realise what it is that you're running from, or they reveal it, it ruins everything. They show things. So we're really playing on the kind of subtleties, and trying to be a little bit more intelligent with it, and really kind of the story was really written because we like it. You know, we like that approach. We like that, and it was very much for kind of a bit for ourselves more than anything. It was just kind of like, oh, I really like this. I want to watch this.
Is there anything you can tell us about the difficulty level? Because, you know, accessibility is a word that we hear a lot of very often in the game industry, and of course, you know, in a narrative-driven game, one would expect that perhaps the difficulty is not really that challenging because you just want to unfold the story.
No, you are right, and you don't want to make it too challenging for people, because the reward is always story, but there are some bits in there which we think might catch people out, and there are some suggestions of possibly ramping up some bits of gameplay, but we can't really elaborate too much on that at the moment, I suppose.
Yeah, it's I mean, games like Gone Home, Firewatch, you know, even Life was Strange to a certain extent. It's not so much about the difficulty; it's about that story and about that connection with really well-written characters, and that's what people will get out of it. People that like those games hopefully will like the bunker, because I love those games, and you know, we've tried to put all those elements into our game as well. So
I think it's very easy to have a game where like the mechanic is designed to challenge you, whereas we never approached it from that. We always thought the mechanic is all about how to pull you into the story, and how to, you know, these mechanics are designed so that you have this empathy with John, and that's always the it was always the plan from the beginning. And so those interactive moments and how you interact is designed to drive the plot and narrative and elaborate that.
I grew up as a huge FMV fan, and I loved a lot of FMV games. And one thing that always fascinated me was like in the mid-90s, I thought, one day when the technology is ready, what could be done with FMV? How much cooler could this look? When the technology is ready, and perhaps different approaches to gameplay or whatever, or telling stories. And I've always seen so much potential, and I was so sad to see how it all ended. Of course, there were a lot of bad games, for sure. But I've always seen that potential. I was very, very happy to see that actually right now there seem to be several people that are using FMV. I mean, then there was Sam Barlow, there was Sibyl, and actually just yesterday I've been at a booth, and the game is called, I haven't been there yet, Late Shift. I didn't even know about it. It's a company from Switzerland. I didn't even know about it. I'll go there later or tomorrow. That's quite fascinating to see. Do you think this is kind of a trend, or? What
I love most is the diversity that we have. People think that having video might limit you as to what you can do, but already, I mean, being uttered in the same breath as Sam Barlow's Her Story is really, really complimentary for us. We think that's amazing. But our game is very, very different, and Sam demonstrates how a story could be told using performance in a certain way, and we're demonstrating another way that you can do that. And same as Late Shift. Late Shift is a different game to ours, and it just shows you that it doesn't have to be the same, And I think if we're all quite open-minded and you kind of give something a chance, you'll be pleasantly surprised by it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a trend. There's a lot of nostalgia there for people, certainly my age, who remember playing those games. And I remember them quite fondly, and then I look back at them and I think, wow, is that really what they looked like? And I think you're right. If what we've tried to do is do full HD, 1080, proper cinema quality, nice photography, nice lighting, great performances, great acting. And really give a high-end movie quality performance, but you experience it as a game. Yeah, I've never really seen it been done the way we've been doing it before, and hopefully people will be excited by that. And one of the little things that excites me is just a little tape player that's in the office, and it's a live-action tape player. And when you press play, a hand comes in, presses play, and the tape plays, and you hear a voice from the past, and at any point you can stop the tape, and the hand will come in and stop the tape, and the tape will stop. And even that's so simple, it's actually quite complicated to do in the game, And once we'd figured out the way to do it so that it looks seamless, we realized, oh, actually you can do anything now. You can. It feels like you're there. You're actually there. There's a real tape recorder and a real hand, and you're almost pressing the tape which is like reality. So I just find stuff like that really cool. So hopefully everybody else will too.
We talked about that yesterday. I was wondering when I played the Game of Thrones game. I hear the voices of Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey and other actors from Game of Thrones, but when I look at the characters, I just think, it doesn't feel the same. How far can the whole FMV thing go? Let's say, I know it's expensive, but if they would say, like a huge franchise like Game of Thrones, let's just use that example, they would say, okay, we're making this game, but we're not using like these cel-shaded characters, we're using real actors, not just the voices.
I really think having, if you come to it with a tried and tested IP, tried and tested kind of brand and everything, and it's one of the things that happened with Telltale, is that they had this really cool mechanic, and then they started to bring third-party titles, say The Walking Dead, and it showed that suddenly there was a massive bump in their sales. So definitely.
Yeah, we'd love to try that. So. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'd love to do, Star Wars, Marvel, whatever. You could do anything.
If Disney are watching, we'd more than happily talk to you. It's fine. Yeah. Call my agent.
Yeah.